Call to order the Lowell City Council regular meeting Tuesday, July 2nd, 7:03. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett.
Here.
Councilor Harris. Here. Councilor Stratus.
Present.
Councilor Weathers. Here. Councilor Murray. Here.
Back to the vote. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We didn't see any need for changes to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, under other business, I have a brief remark about time off.
Okay, you want to add that under other business?
Correct.
Okay. We could do that.
So with regard to the vacation accrual, or
I just want everybody to be aware I'm going to take some time off.
Oh.
Any public comments? Council comments? And I have a comment. I'm gonna do it now instead of the mayor's comment at the end. But this is something when I was listening to through the budget, something that struck me and I didn't know how or why. But selling the old city hall location. What our city administrator is going to have to go through is pretty time consuming when you start looking at everything that's on his list to do the background. And I was wondering once, and I'm not asking for an answer now, but we started off with like $302,000 to sell it for, and then, you know, the asbestos and everything going down through there. And when we got to the very, very bottom line, it's like $60,000 to $70,000 that we were saying that we would be making on it. So my thought on that is that to go ahead, if it's possible, to list the property now, both at 302 and at a reduced value, if the contractor that buys it takes care of the asbestos cleanup and everything like that. So we know we could list it at 302 and contractor does the work at 202, and we would come away with more money than if we did all the work ourselves. And you know, I know that we do our best and we go out, but seems like the expenses that we put into property ends up just eating up everything we want to do. So if we get that out of his hands and we get it out of, you know, off our inventory, I think it'd be best. Like I say, most contractors, that whoever's going to buy that will already have the capabilities of demolishing that building. They can still do it through the fire department. They can still burn it. Asbestos is going to be the big cleanup thing. And if they have a means, you know, we list it both before and after. If you guys want to buy it now and do it yourself, or if you want us to do it, then we're going to charge you the full price or list it at the full price. And we can, like I say, list it for 3 or 4 months that way, or a set of time that you'd like. And then see what happens. But what I'd like to have is not necessarily now, because you haven't had time to, I just presented it to you, but some short thoughts in the next meeting about how to work our limits for selling property that has asbestos. I don't know if there's a limit. If the receiver said, yes, I'll take it, then I'll dispose with it, or else there's even limits for what I'm saying. So that's just my thoughts. So, all right. Old business, now new business. On page 3, motion to approve library services and technologies grant. Mr. Powell.
All right, the library director applied for this grant in the spring. This will fund an oral history project that she wants to head up. This grant will pay for a consultant who actually knows how to do oral history related work. It'll also involve purchasing video equipment and editing software. By June 2025, the agreement states that our goal is to collect a minimum of 25 oral histories. And there's also a special archiving site where this would help.
That's a good thing. We have some residents that's lived here for a long time, and I think that they have the capability of pointing the library director in the direction of people that would make better explain the town and the whole territory. Yes, sir.
Peggy brought all this up during her presentation on this earlier, but I just want to remind everyone, the gentleman she's working with from the Oregon State Library is also working with the University of Oregon. It's a major accomplishment that we are getting this as a city. So I'm very proud of the work she's done and happy this is happening.
It's a federal grant.
I know I was interested in the history of this place when I first came, and it was tough to find much. So for the people that they came from the Lost Wagon Train, came in here. They had hop growers over here and all kinds of stuff going on. So loggers, there's a lot of history in this thing. I think it'd be great to reach back to some of those people that actually were there and remember it, or the grandparents had told them about it. So this is wonderful. I think it's a great idea. Any other?
It's hard to do well, so I'm glad that there's, a combination with Peggy and this expert is gonna be great.
Yeah.
I've sort of started making a little list, because we have, I've got the list of all of the Lowell grads from way back and see who's alive and who's still reachable. They don't live here, but that doesn't matter. I was even talking to my sister-in-law. I mean, she grew up here. She has phenomenal stories about not history in the terms of a history book that on this date this happened, but how they lived. When the road went through, what that meant. When Highway 58 was. Yeah. You don't think of the way people lived. I think that's the interesting part rather than just dates and that stuff. Should be cool.
I think much like planting a tree, the best day to do this was yesterday, the next best day is today. The longer you wait to do a project like this, the more you lose. So I'm glad it's going down too. It's really easy to lose things in a couple of generations, and we're still within a couple of generations of the founding really of the area. So I'm happy it's happening as well. So.
Yeah, motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Library Services and Technology Act grant agreement with the Oregon State Library, in the amount of $12,083, and to authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second.
Yeah, motion, second. Okay, other thoughts, questions?
I'd like to just add, Mr. Mayor, that I will communicate Peggy tomorrow the support and enthusiasm that the council has.
Yeah.
And I'll let her know that members on the council stand ready to assist.
Every day, every week, more history gets lost. Going back there, what you're saying is very true. And, can't rebuild what's lost. Okay, all those in favor of motion to approve a Library Services and Technology Act grant agreement with Oregon State Library in the amount of $12,083, and to authorize the city administrator to sign, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. Page 31, motion to approve payment, the amount of $5,674 for workers' comp.
We provide workers' compensation through SAFE. Since this is above my purchasing authority, I'm bringing it to the council tonight for your approval.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad you did, because I had questions about this during budget and sent you and included it in the packet. So we had this kind of discussion about allocation of salaries to the ledger, to the expense accounts. What I remember was that workers' comp was more on position because, I did these for mills with hundreds of people in there. They didn't keep time cards, so the office manager was 8810. It's still the same code as it was when I was doing this. So do you allocate any of your time for workers' comp purposes to anything other than administration?
I do.
Like what?
Water and sewer, when I'm working on water and sewer issues,
But this is plant operation. Not oversight. So that's my question. That's what I was confused about before, and so I was glad to see this because it's about the work that's done, not the work that's supervised. There's a significant difference, in rates. Obviously, it's not a huge amount, but, anyway. That's, just a question I had that, I'm not sure that that's. Fire.
I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and I'll discuss with the lady and just double check that.
It's the Oregon thing. Oregon work comp is pretty good, better than other states. Right, didn't we?
Do you want to act on this or save it for the next meeting?
No, we gotta pay. We have to pay out.
We have a motion.
So I'll move to approve payment in the amount of $5,674.71 in compensation premiums to safety for the July 1, 2024, July 1, 2025. Okay.
We have a motion, second. We have other questions. All in favor of motion to approve payment in amount of $5,674.71 in workers' comp premiums to SAIF for the July 1/24 through July 1/25 plan year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Would that be any significant change in our payment or anything like that, you think? Bree?
The rates are significant, the number of hours or dollars is what you report, not hours. Is not necessarily, but it can, because usually your manager is the highest paid individual, so. I mean, I did mills, and so operators were different than.
Administrator.
Yeah, and being in the mill wasn't.
Okay.
The requirement, it was the work that you did, and it was by position. They didn't, you couldn't.
Okay. Never ran into that.
Well, yeah, let me connect with WHA, our broker of record, and just get their guidance on that. Which we're interested.
Touch base, if we can save us a couple
Because
dollars.
the school is pretty easy, everybody's clerical knowledge. I mean, call it a risk doing playground duty, but it doesn't count for, workers' comp higher rate, so that wasn't a very good example, but I was surprised that they're still using it the same.
Okay. Fantastic, that's good to hear. Page 33. motion
To me, let me back up.
Okay, back up.
The reason why I think it's worth looking at is because Jeremy mentioned during budget process that he has to keep a time card. That's a lot of work to do it with the precision that I'm sure he does. And if it's not necessary, then, it's still nice to know where you spend your time, but if you're thinking that, every hour has to be accounted for because somebody's gonna audit it against a time card, I'm just asking whether that's really necessary, because again, the efficiencies that may be gained, that he doesn't have to do that to quite the precision again.
But we see, his listing of everything he does, and he's keeping additional hours in addition to the actions. It's like that, that slows you down. Maybe keep you good preventing or accomplishing certain things. Good. Motion approved for a plan here for financial and accounting consultation service. Mr. Collins.
This is our annual agreement with Lowell for accounting and audit preparation services. One change is an increase in the other services budget, $1,000 to $5,000. There's also a 5% increase in her hourly rate. Under subsection D in the recitals, there's a finding that the city hired her under a prior competitive process. This is a continuation of preliminary analyses that she's done. And that continuing to contract with Lowell will reduce risks associated with our finance and auditing processes due to her extensive experience with the city.
Like to say that her accuracy that lowered our auditor fees. Like they have their own charges too, so we made their life easier. We had the first time, long time, we got an audit done in the same year as it was forecasted.
And they had nothing but praise. Our audit had nothing but praise for ladies' work.
Yeah, it was great. So, nice to see that. Yes, go ahead.
So in the justification, it says, an increase of $4,000 in the other services. But yet under the other services, it says provided on an as needed basis. Does that mean that's a fixed set cost that's there, or is that a variable cost?
That depends on what she'll bill us if we use it. If we don't use it, she won't bill us.
So that line for other services is not necessarily a fixed amount. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Maximum is 5,000.
Has she billed us for the $1,000 other services in the past,
Yes,
individually?
yes.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a financial and accounting consultation services agreement with Lele A. Nichols in the amount not to exceed $37,106 and to authorize the city administrator to sign.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor of motion to approve financial and accounting consultation services agreement with Lily A. Nichols in the amount not to exceed $37,106 and to authorize the city administrator to sign, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next one on page 38. Approved payment for liftoff for software. Mr. Cobb.
Liftoff is a reseller of Microsoft Office licenses. Apparently, a commercial entity can't buy direct from Microsoft, so you have to buy it from a reseller. This is year 3 of the contract with them. Lane Council of Governments thinks we could get a better deal by getting competitive quotes next year. So that's what I intend to do. In the meantime, this will provide for a 1-year renewal for our existing licenses.
Is that not something that's done through the purchasing consortium? They don't do licenses,
With LCOG,
LCOG or the state? I think
Good
that would
idea.
be something that everybody's using, I'm surprised that unless they forbid it.
now LCOG did say they were looking, they'd like to have their own centralized licensing that we could piggyback off of. As far as the state procurement, that's a good question. I think we'll look into that.
I'll share in case it helps anyone sleep. I did share that quote with my IT colleagues at the university, and they thought it was a little on the high end, but they also thought it was pretty par for the course. So hopefully we can get better, but I don't think we should expect significant savings there.
Well, a lot of times your savings are just that you sign up like we've done on other things. It's just that you don't have to go prepare anything, go out for anything. That's the true savings. You know, that's the cost that we don't write a check for, but it costs us.
We have a motion.
Make a motion to approve payment in the amount of $5,506.56 to Liftoff LLC for Microsoft licensing.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Liftoff LLC. We have further discussion, questions. Okay, all those in favor of motion to approve payment in the amount of $5,506.56 to Liftoff LLC for Microsoft licensing, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Finish with new business, other business, Mr. Collins, speak to time off.
Yes. All right, I had planned on taking some time off. I want to bring this to your attention. Leaving Sunday, returning Wednesday for a camping trip. In light of the extreme heat advisory, I don't know if I'll be going or not. But if my,
Where were you going?
it was over in the Sisters area. We're gonna be tent camping and it's supposed to be pretty busy, so
Maybe the coast.
Yeah.
Find a spot.
but I'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Any other comments, council?
I hope you can get some little trip in there.
We're gonna do something. She already got the time off, so we want to do something.
You'll be a warm weekend. Okay. Not hearing, not seeing anymore, we're adjourned at.
Oh, wait a second. I thought we were gonna, when do you need action on this vacation accrual thing? The email you sent.
You wanna start a conversation about it tonight or wait till July?
I'm just asking you. I just assumed it was gonna be on the agenda because we got this, but I'm just asking.
I was planning on this the 2nd of July.
If people aren't ready, then yeah, it's not. Yeah, okay. That's fine.
Does the council wanna have a conversation about this or wait?
I'm ready, but it's not on the agenda, so I don't know if that's.
We can talk about it, we just can't have any action.
Well, then let's just do it once.
Okay,
Did everybody see the notification they said about, fire restrictions for fireworks in unincorporated Lane County?
That's been for a long time, isn't it?
No, they changed it up, they just did something with it yesterday.
I watched the news tonight.
It said no sales, use, buying of fireworks in unincorporated Lane County,
Oh, because Eugene has that.
yeah. I wasn't,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause it was unincorporated.
There's a big event planned.
It's different if you have organization and,
Yeah.
and you're putting on a show and there's.
Usually you get a license.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting about.
You know, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna be going into executive session, so we're gonna be. Oh, this thing all short.
We're not coming to add.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not coming to add.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And so we're adjourned at 7:26. Thank you, both, Mr.
Yeah, well, we're gonna, maybe